Hi, welcome to SheepYoga, and this video is a quick tutorial on how to do crow pose, one of my favorite arm balances. And hopefully if all goes well in this video, you will be able to achieve your perfect crow pose. Let's begin. What we want to do first is some preparation yoga to get you ready to do the crow pose. We're going to start on working on your arm strength, and the best way to build arm strength is plank pose. So plank pose, you want to have your body in a straight line parallel to the floor and your arms pushing everything away from the floor. You can have this with your knees on the floor if you're not confident. After you've managed to perfect your plank pose, we're going to Chaturanga. So move your body slightly forward in your plank, lower to the floor with your elbows as close to your ribs as possible. And then you will make your way up to upward facing dog, or lower all the way down and push into cobra, whichever one is more comfortable for you, just like I'm doing in the video now. Have a good look and see what works for you. You're going to have to do this a few times, maybe for a couple of weeks before you really notice any change in the strength of your arms. Crow pose also relies on you bringing your knees up onto your upper arm or closer to your armpits and holding them there. So you want to be able to increase that flexibility. You can do this with happy baby pose, where you lie down on your back and you bring your knees as close to your armpits as you can, using your hands on your feet to push them closer to your body. Do this for a few breaths each time you do it, and that should hopefully increase the flexibility you need for the pose. Crow pose is an arm balance, as we all know, and so it can put a lot of strain on your wrists, so it's very important to warm them up before doing the pose. So you want to do this immediately before, basically just rotating at the wrists both ways, in and out, a few times, making sure that joint is nicely warm and lubricated before you actually start the pose. You can also prepare your hands for this pose by doing gorilla pose, where you slide your hands under your feet in a standing position, bending your knees as much as you need to. And the aim here is to actually compress your hands with your feet, which promotes blood flow to this area. You can also use this pose as a recovery for after you've done the crow. What you want to do now is make sure your hands are in the correct way for the pose, and this is by putting your fingertips onto the ground and making a little gap underneath your palm to push the weight much more evenly when you do the pose. This will be really good to help you balance, and it also relieves some stress from your wrist. Okay, finally we can fly. Let's get ready to practice your crow pose. Now for your first attempt, you may want to put a pillow or a block underneath where your head may fall, just to prevent yourself from getting any injuries, and also it's good to boost your confidence if you know you're not going to break your face when attempting this pose. Start by positioning your hands in the way I told you, then bring your knees to the top of your arms, bending at the elbows to kind of give them a place to rest on, and eventually push your feet off the ground to get your balance. You've got the pillow there to support you if you do fall. Give this a few attempts, and it does take a little while to work out how to balance your body. As you gain your confidence, do one leg first and then the other, and eventually you'll have both legs coming off the ground, giving you that lovely crow pose we all know and love. Getting both feet off the ground does take a while, so don't put too much pressure on yourself and don't get upset if you can't do it straight away. And once you do finally manage to achieve having both feet off the ground and holding the pose for a few seconds, you will feel great, and then you can get rid of your training wheels, so get rid of the block or pillow underneath you, and you can go without, really flying and doing your crow best as you can. And once you feel like you've perfected your crow, you can then extend it to a crane pose where you straighten your arms, and you can even kind of go from straight arms to bent arms, and that will actually be an upper body workout for you if you are one of those people who like to do that. But that is not really for me, so I won't be demonstrating that properly here. Instead, I prefer to actually use my crow pose as a transition in my yoga flow. So I used my crow pose and jump back into a plank pose. I also like to go from my crow pose into a tripod headstand, which is quite cool and is very good for balance. This all does take a little bit of practice, so maybe do the transitions once you have completely perfected your pose. But I have no doubt you will be able to do that eventually if you keep practicing, so keep going. And once I got the confidence in this pose, I actually used it to do other arm balances like firefly pose, which you can see now, and you can see it looks very cool. And that's all for me for this tutorial of Bakasana, or aka crow pose, if I didn't tell you that already. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment if you would like to see anything else, and please subscribe to my channel. I also have an Instagram at @StarandSheep, so you can also find me on there. Hope you have a great day, and I really hope this tutorial helped you, and I hope it gave you the confidence to fly in your crow pose.